She lived poor, but her heart was richer than empires. No silk touched her skin. No diamonds graced her hands. Yet when she smiled, even heaven paused to listen. Her life was woven with struggle, stitched with pain, and washed in tears. But every scar she carried shone like a crown of mercy. The world never bowed for her name, but angels did for her soul. She walked barefoot through storms, yet left behind footprints of light. She had nothing, and yet she gave everything. Her love was not loud. It was loyal. Her heart did not demand. It devoted. When she held your hand, it felt like home. Not because she owned you, but because she understood you. Her laughter was rare, but when it came, it sounded like forgiveness. Her tears were silent, but they watered the garden of every broken heart she touched. People mocked her poverty. They never saw her power. For while others collected gold, she collected souls. While they measured beauty in silver, she measured it in sincerity. She lived poor, yes, but she loved like a queen, with grace that ruled the unseen, with patience that silenced pride, with a heart that built kingdoms out of kindness alone. And though she never wore a crown, the sky itself bent low to rest its stars upon her head. She woke before the sun, not to chase wealth, but to thank God for breath. Her prayers rose with the dawn, gentle, unseen, yet strong enough to move heaven itself. Her house was small, but her welcome was vast. She had little food, yet fed others with peace. She owned few clothes, but her heart dressed itself in light. She never envied the rich, for she knew gold fades, but goodness never dies. When pain knocked at her door, she smiled and said, "Come in, I have endured worse." And when joy arrived, she shared it with everyone, as if blessings doubled when divided. She spoke softly, but her words stayed like perfume. Long after she had gone, she gave kindness without asking, love without condition, and hope without reason. There was royalty in her silence, a quiet strength that came from knowing loss and still choosing love. She was not born to rule, but she ruled hearts, not by command, but by compassion. Her humility was her crown, her faith her throne. Even in hunger, she found sweetness and patience. Even in tears, she saw beauty and belief. For she lived not to impress, but to bless. She carried her sorrow, as one carries a child, close, careful, but never ashamed. And I, who have seen kingdoms rise and fall, have never seen a queen more graceful in pain than her. She lived poor, but her love was wealth beyond measure. And when she spoke of hope, it felt like light itself bowed before her. There were nights when hunger sat beside her, but she would still whisper, "Alhamdulillah, I am not alone." She had no jewels to shine, but her patience glittered brighter than rubies. No throne to sit upon, yet she ruled my heart with a single glance of kindness. When the storms came, she did not run. She faced them, with hands raised to heaven, and a smile that said, "I trust the one who sent it." She lived poor, but her dignity was untouched. Her soul wore silk, woven by faith, stitched by gratitude. Even in pain, she carried beauty. Her silence spoke louder than sermons. Her tears prayed louder than words. Sometimes I would see her, sitting near the window, watching the moon in quiet peace. I asked her once, "What do you see?" She said, "I see hope. Even the night is light." And in that moment, I knew she was not just a woman. She was a verse written by mercy, a reflection of heaven's grace. The world ignored her name, but destiny knew her story. She was the kind of soul that angels protect in secret, the kind of heart that turns pain into poetry. Her love was not loud. It was lasting, not demanding, but divine. And even when life broke her, she gathered the pieces and built an altar of love. She taught me that true power is not in possession, but in peace. That royalty is not in gold, but in grace. And though she lived poor, she made me rich, not in coin, but in courage. For every time I fell, she lifted me with faith. And every time I doubted, she answered with a smile that felt like prayer made flesh. She lived poor, but loved like a queen, and no throne on earth could match the kingdom of her heart. I remember the day the world broke her, when life took everything she had. And still, she bowed her head and said, "Even loss is a gift if it brings me closer to God." That moment, I saw greatness the crowns of kings could never match. Her tears fell, but they fell like pearls, each one a prayer, each one a promise. She did not curse her fate. She blessed it. She did not ask, "Why me?" She whispered, "Use me." And I stood there, a man surrounded by gold, feeling poor before her faith. She had nothing to her name. No lands, no servants, no wealth. But she had something rarer, a heart that could love, without expecting return. When I spoke of power, she spoke of peace. When I counted coins, she counted blessings. And when I showed her kingdoms, she showed me contentment. She once told me, "Your riches will fade when you die, but your kindness will live forever." Those words became my crown, for they carry truth deeper than treasure. Her love was not just emotion, it was devotion. She loved not with desire, but with destiny. She loved in silence, and her silence became song. She was a queen, who ruled without a throne, who conquered without a sword, who reigned in the kingdom of hearts, where pride cannot enter. And though her clothes were torn, her soul was whole. Though her days were hard, her nights were peaceful. She never begged from men. She asked only from the one who hears without being called. She lived poor, but her spirit wore eternity. And I, a man of palaces and pride, found myself kneeling before her quiet grace. For what is royalty, if not the power to heal hearts? And what is love, if not her name whispered through time? The last time I saw her, she was sitting under the same tree, where once she had prayed for rain. But that day, she wasn't asking for anything. She was thanking. Her lips moved softly, whispering to the sky, as if she had finally met peace. The sun fell on her face, and her wrinkles looked like golden lines, written by the hands of God Himself. I called her name, and she smiled, a smile that could melt grief itself. She said, "My son, don't cry for me. I'm not leaving this world. I'm returning to the one who owns it." Those words carved a scar into my soul. And yet, they healed me too. Because in her goodbye, there was no pain, only peace. In her eyes, I saw heaven open. Not in the clouds, but in the purity of her faith. When she closed her eyes forever, I felt the world lose its light. The birds went silent. Even the wind slowed down, as if it too bowed before her soul. They buried her in the soil she once blessed, the same ground she had walked barefoot, feeding others before herself, loving even when unloved. And now, whenever I visit her grave, I don't cry. I listen, because the earth still whispers her name, and the breeze still carries her prayers. She lived poor, but she left me the richest man alive, rich with her lessons, her patience, her love. Now I know A queen doesn't need jewels. She only needs a heart that shines. And she, my poor woman, will forever reign in the palace of my soul.